What is cerebrolysin? Well, cerebrolysin is not a peptide you synthesize in a lab. It's a standard preparation. This is going to freak some people out, but it's from porcine brain tissue, so porcine pig brain. And it's been used and approved in clinical use in over 50 countries for decades. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about cerebrolysin. So for those of you who said, hey, Regan, we want to get some videos on cerebrolysin, I'm going to share it today. And I'm going to do my best to differentiate between what it is, what it isn't, some of the ideas behind why it works so well. I'll even tell you, like, one of the interesting things that caught my attention is I had this client who used to get these tectonic jerks. So he would fall asleep at night and then his whole nervous system would just kind of, you know how you do the little jump a little bit as your brain releases acetylcholine as you're falling asleep? Well, his body would jerk so much every time he'd fall asleep, he couldn't sleep. And it was cerebrolysin. Now, this was almost 10 years ago. It was cerebrolysin that changed his life because he could actually utilize this peptide at night and he would sleep through the night. And he was devastated when the FDA reclassified cerebrolysin as a biologic agent. Now, there's probably a pharmaceutical company compounding it and building some kind of clinical trial somewhere. And I think you guys would probably give me the data because so many of you are just incredible researchers and I love the data that you share in the comments. But now it became impossible to find it from a 503A compounding pharmacy. And the frustration was palpable because, he was sleeping so well. He was improving every health metric that we were working on got better. His blood sugar improved, his anti-gap, his digestion improved, as you could imagine. And then when that got pulled away, he was devastated. So let's talk about what cerebrolysin is. And once again, make sure that you're not just pulling this off the black market. He could have easily gone online and found his own source. I encouraged him not to do that. I said, wait until it's clinically available in the United States through 503A, compounding pharmacies, or reputable sources. Now, there's reputable sources in Europe and other countries that we've been able to find, but it's still not FDA approved in the United States. And so, but there are some really interesting studies going on. We're going to talk about those. So for those of you who want to go deeper in your health, I'm Regan Archibald, founder of Ageless Future, and we're a longevity clinic. And we really want to build an operating system because we believe there should be peptides in every home from 503A compounding pharmacies where each one of you have a health optimization track. And you can only do that through personalization. And so we built a model that allows us to use your labs and your subjective goals and find the best possible peptide strategies for you. So let's talk about cerebrolysin. There's human randomized control trials. They have phase 3 levels, not FDA approved yet. So we're going to dive into the mechanism. So cerebrolysin, it actually is manufactured exclusively by Ever Neuropharma in Austria. Now, it's produced by the enzymatic hydrolysis of purified porcine brain proteins. Now, you guys remember, it's a pig brain protein. So yes, if you are kosher, you want to talk to your rabbi or whatever and make sure that this is okay. But these proteins, the lipid fraction is removed, leaving a standardized mixture, and the composition breaks into two parts, approximately 75% free amino acid, which provide nutritional substrate for the neurons, and then 25% of low molecular weight peptide fragments, all very tiny, under 10 kilodaltons in size, very small. That peptide fraction is the biologically active component. Now remember, it's got to be done properly. You don't just want to hope that this Chinese source has your back, but this contains fragments. If you look in this molecule, it contains fragments with structural and functional similarity to BDNF, your brain-derived neurotropic factor. This is like miracle grow for your brain. The BDNF, if you can activate that, it supports neuronal survival, it promotes synaptic plasticity, as well as nerve growth factor and glial cell line derived neurotropic factor. It also has some ciliary neurotropic factor. Now, that's a lot. You're like, well, all these factors, Regan. Well, basically, it helps your brain regrow itself. And so these are growth factors that maintain or repair the nervous system, but they also help turn the brain back on. And yes, the tectonic jerks that my patient experienced, it's a neural neuromuscular adaptation. It's your brain's release of too much acetylcholine. And there's no other mechanism. We tried 100 different variants of things, and cerebrolysin, for some reason, was it. So if you think about BDNF, it's 27 kilodaltons. So it's too large to cross through the blood-brain barrier. So if you're injecting it, may have a hard time. Maybe if you do a nasal spray, some of that will get in there if you compound BDNF. But cerebrolysin's peptide analogs were small enough to cross through the blood-brain barrier. This is where, out of Austria, IV doses of higher amounts of cerebrolysin, it can engage the neurotropin receptors in the brain. And once it works, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and that activates BDNF. But there's also other cellular pathways that it hits. It hits these signaling proteins that phosphorylate and inactivate the pro-apoptotic proteins, meaning these proteins that trigger cell death, it inactivates those. Cerebrolysin also has a neuroprotective mechanism. It suppresses the death signal in neurons under stress, so it makes you more stress resilient. The second thing it does is it works on what's called the MAPK and ERK pathways. This drives the synaptic plasticity and long-term potentiation for your basis of learning and memory. So if you want to learn faster and remember what you learned, cerebrolysin may be the secret weapon. And then third, this is what's called the sonic hedgehog pathway. Now, this is involved in new neuroformation or neurogenesis, and it also promotes the blood vessel formation called angiogenesis, and then it helps remyelinate that insulin sheath around nerve fibers. This is where it's been studied for things like MS. And it also helps with the dendrite, the branching of these nerve connections. You get better dendritic activity. And so additionally, cerebrolysin reduces glutamate excitotoxicity, and the damage caused by excess glutamate is released after a stroke or traumatic brain injury, and that suppresses your microglial cell activation, the brain's inflammatory response. It also reduces the amyloid beta generation. So I know it just went through a lot of pathways, but if you think of every neuron in your brain, you guys remember your mom telling you, if you don't wear your helmet, you're going to hit your head and you're going to lose brain cells, and you have a finite supply of brain cells. Well, every brain cell, because we value them so much and because our biology understands the importance of brain cells, we have these little glial cells that are like soldiers that protect our brain and our brain cells specifically. And these soldiers are called microglial. And these microglial cells, when there's any kind of disruption in the environment, like a head trauma, or you have an infection in the brain, like maybe like Lyme disease, these little spirochetes get into the fatty tissue of the brain, or you have mycotoxin exposures, you have a little yeast formation. Well, what happens is these microglial cells, they can't sweep out the debris. And then once they start vibrating at a level where they can't protect the neuron, that's when we have issues with memory. And this is where a lot of people, they think, oh, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's or MS or ALS or whatever the name is, or early onset cognitive decline. But the early stages might be from this dysregulation of microglia. And so if you can detox the brain at the same time, and this is where intranasal glutathione or intranasal NAD could be one of the helpful mechanisms. But if we detox the brain, that's where we see people start to recover. Now, once again, you've got to catch this in time. But let's jump into cerebrolysin. Here's what the data shows. Here's a stroke study called the CARS trial. 2016 is when it was published. This was a double-blind, placebo-controlled, multi-center trial in 208 patients with acute ischemic stroke. Cerebrolysin 30 mLs per day intravenously for 21 days, starting 24 to 72 hours post-stroke. So it was very close to after the stroke happened. And the primary outcome was the action research, or the ARM test, the ARAT measurement of motor function at 90 days. So what they found is cerebrolysin produced an average ARAT improvement of 30.7 points versus 15.9 points for the placebo. So it just wasn't time that allowed these patients to get better. Now the Mann-Whitney effect size was 0.71, so it was classified as far superior. At day 90, 42.3% of cerebrolysin patients had a modified Rankin score, so it's a score showing disability, compared to 14.9% of placebo patients. So far fewer had disability scores. 0 deaths in the cerebrolysin group versus 4 deaths in the placebo group. So the placebo, unfortunately, there's casualties. So cerebrolysin, maybe it saves some lives. So very interesting things. Now, cerebrolysin, the safety profile seems to be very tolerable, very safe, and they're using these in patients that are very significant medical conditions. So for those of you who want to go deeper on cerebrolysin, learn more about peptides, do not try these on your own. Cerebrolysin is a very complex structure, but very powerful, and I think it holds some very noticeable changes that we could be using in the future. So for those of you who want to build a better future for your health, go to agelessfuture.com. Come to one of our events. Click on that events page. I'd love to have you come to the office, hang out with us for a couple of days, and build your body operation system. I'm Regan Archibald. I'll see you on the next video.